often that is a time when we get a chance to talk to our next guest, Michigan basketball coach John Beilein. Coach B, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today, my man?
I'm good. How is everything? Everybody out there? Everybody, the basketball season, the college basketball season is officially over.
Yeah, it is, Coach, and it you look back on it. I know every team is different, every year is different, obviously. But you look back at this season, and I go back to the beginning. I've admitted here on the air, time and time again that when you guys started out and you're battling through injuries with Mitch, there was a point where I wondered where how deep this team would be able to go this season. And boy, did you guys turn it on. You win an outright Big Ten crown. I want to know now that in retrospect, when you look back on it, when did you know? When did you see what this team could become?
Oh, I don't think there's any ever shiny moment that you sort of think you have that team. That you have the team, but as I've said, I think before, when we started winning those road games, start the second semester, Zach Irvin replacing Glenn Robinson there and hitting 5 threes at Minnesota, and then the win at Nebraska, which probably didn't seem like much of a win, but I was there. That atmosphere was incredible for us to get that W, and then the Wisconsin game, we walked out of there shaking our heads, saying we could have something here. Mm-hmm. So all those things combined over those couple of couple of weeks as we started January, it was one we certainly could contend for the Big Ten championship, and I knew the Big Ten was strong enough that if we contended for that, we could make it run in March as well.
Yeah, Coach, you just mentioned some close games in there, and I can't help but remember talking to some of the guys in the locker room during the tournament. They said, I think we turned Coach's hair a little bit whiter with some of these close games. So, this for a young group, for a group that was finding its way role-wise, you guys were a really good team when it came to those late game situations. Obviously, that unbelievable shot not included in that, but all season long, you guys got it done in those tight affairs.
Well, except with a couple of games, the end of the Tennessee game and some other ones, it wasn't like we created bad situations. Usually it was, where we had a game won and we just gave it back to somebody. Those are tough ones. It was, I think, we buried ourselves in a couple situations early and came back and won. That showed us a lot. And so, they were just really good. They made foul shots. If you look at the things that, I've told you before, is figuring out what you do right is the hardest thing in coaching. Mm-hmm. But I look back at some things. Great foul shooting, not a good foul shooting team, a great foul shooting team. A team once again with sub 10 turnovers a game, and you can stay in games. A really good shooting team, and a team that really we stayed healthy with the exception of Mitch. 8 guys played, and 8 guys played well together. Had a really good rhythm. So you throw those things together, and it led to us being around in virtually every game. Because Iowa was the only game that we were not really in, I guess. Maybe there was one other, but Iowa was one that we just got out of early. It was a good year.
Now, Coach, when you look at this team, obviously from a leadership standpoint, I know we talked a lot about who was going to be the guy, and you said, hey, it needs to be my seniors, my veterans, John and Jordan, and certainly Jordan especially rose to that occasion. When you look at the arc of his career, how different is he? I know every guy has a journey in college over those 4 years, but I look at a guy like Trey. He comes in, and he's a guy. He's that alpha guy coming in. It really seemed to me that the Jordan Morgan we saw this year, in my impression of him, is a totally different Jordan Morgan from the one that we saw walking in from an assertiveness standpoint, from an aggression standpoint, from a leadership standpoint.
Well, I think that there's different phases in Jordan's career. When he first came in here 5 years ago, this is a 180-degree change. But there were times in his freshman and sophomore years, and last year as well, where he was playing just like he did for us at the finish. They were isolated at times, and then he would go up and down a little bit. And he really worked hard mentally to be in a good place for games and for practice so that he could have some consistency. And there wasn't a more consistent player for us down the stretch than Jordan Morgan. He caught everything. He finished everything. I think he shot 75% or something from the foul line in the NCAA tournament. He was, he played as well as he ever had in the most important times this year. And, that is a great send-off for a fabulous young man.
Yeah, no question about it, Coach. I certainly learned a lot. I certainly learned a lot about the ability of a team, when they are all on the same page.
Yep.
And obviously talent has a lot to do with it, but I learned a lot about what a team can do when they're all on the same page this season, because you guys exceeded all external expectations. I wonder, I know you've been coaching 36 years. You've seen most circumstances, most scenarios, but was there anything that you took from this season, that you learned from your guys, you learned from your team this year, that you hadn't seen, you hadn't experienced before?
Oh, boy, watching it, I think watching a team improve sort of as a team was something that you see individuals improve sometimes, but they're not ready to get in there and play. Just watching the development of some of these young men, whether it was Karras or Zach, guys we really needed. Derek Walton. There's moments early in the year where Derek Walton, there was so much things going on. It was difficult for him to put it all together, and then all of a sudden in some big games, he's got it all together. And the ability for this team to make a clutch shot. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of games where we were maybe had a 5 or 6 point lead, and it's that defining time in a game, the last couple possessions. And whether it was Glenn, whether it was Nick, they're all kind of. Derek Walton hit some huge shots. Karras hit huge shots in games that gave us that lead again, or just stopped it. All of a sudden it's down to 2, and all of a sudden it's 5, and they missed. Now it's 7, and the game's over. I think that was a big quality. There were some clutch shots and clutch stops that we made during the year that was probably as good as I've seen, as far as having guys that had some ice water in their veins when it came to important times.
Coach, you mentioned clutch stops, and I mean the way that they call games obviously changes things, changes the defensive dynamic, not just for you but for everyone. Moving forward, as you look ahead, does anything change with your approach defensively based on how they call games now, based on how they call or don't call charges now? Does anything change for you moving forward?
Well, my hope is that we'll reevaluate this entire thing. In retrospect now, that was difficult for everybody to add the hand check foul, which I'm in support of, and the charge, the new block charge rule, which I did not think worked out as well as they had hoped. So I expect people to really take a good look at this and decide whether that, where they go in the future. It certainly is good if you have a shot blocker back there instead of a charge taker. Mm-hmm. And we did not have a shot blocker back there, and so it's probably the good news is we probably didn't have enough guys that really would stand in there and take charges. We're too young to do that in some respects. And Jordan was our only guy, but boy, he took some important ones, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did. Did.
So it's a thing that we'll continue to work on, but I don't plan on changing it at all. It would be nice to have a huge shot blocker that can change games, but that will come through either in the guys we have now or future or guys that are coming in like a DJ Wilson will be able to block some shots. So who knows where we'll get that from in the future.
Right. Speaking of the future, Coach, who knows what the future is going to look like? Kind of give us here and the fans an idea of what the process is moving forward for Mitch, Glenn, and Nick. When does the eval come back from the committee, and what's their timeline look like for making the decision? Kind of take us through that process.
Well, I'm going to be very careful not to give out any dates, because then things are like, all right, then everybody's waiting, and it's. Well, we are in the process right now. At some time over these last week and this week, we're gaining information. We'll put it together, and when we're ready to announce it, what decisions are being made, we'll announce it. So how's that for a really nice answer?
Okay, as far as the committee, kind of who gives the assessment? How does that process work?
Well, this is the way I understand it, and this is our fifth straight year in this, is there's 21 teams. So I don't even ask the questions anymore, but as it has been explained to me, there's 21 teams that anonymously will rate a player where he'd be drafted. They believe it'd be drafted. It is all over the board, but there's a consensus at the end of where, and they have been very accurate in the past, where people will be drafted. It is 100% confidential. We will not speak about any of it, and then a young man could look at things and decide whether this is the best option for him. So it is it's really the NBA does a terrific job at this. So we, as we gather more and more results, we'll know more and more, and our young men will be able to have a clearer picture of the projections.
Gotcha. And for you, do you just defer totally to that eval, or do you inject your opinion as far as, hey, I think this is how it looks for you, or do you just defer to the committee?
We talk with general managers and scouts as often as we can.
Gotcha.
To gain more information, because it says 21 teams,
mm-hmm.
and some of those teams may not, they not be recruiting. They may be loaded at the shooting guard spot, so they might not even have seen Nick other than on TV, for example. So they may not really know. So we've had, I would say, this year we probably, I can't even count the number of NBA scouts we've had at games. I mean, it's in the hundreds of NBA scouts at games or practices.
Okay.
So everybody's got a pretty good look at our guys.
All right.
So we know a lot of those guys, and they have to be very careful of divulging what they feel, because they want to keep their thoughts in house. So it's a secret society out there. we have to protect everybody's confidentiality as we go through this.
All right, last one to move off of that, Coach. Just for you guys as a program, let's set those guys aside. Do you, moving forward, let's say that they leave, are you guys still actively looking at guys on the recruiting trail for this coming class? Is there a possibility of looking at transfers? Do you look at that, or you kind of your team next year will be what it is, whether if those guys come back, they'll be on it. If those guys don't come back, you already have your roster set.
First of all, we love the 4 young men we have coming in. I mean, absolutely love them. They all had tremendous seasons. And we got rebounding has been an issue. These 3 young men can go get the ball, all 3 of them, which is the 3, or Cam, Ricky, and DJ can go get the ball. Mm-hmm. Austin did get to play this year, which is a huge step in the right direction. So we cannot wait to coach those guys. And now it depends a lot on how this goes. So there's not a whole lot of players out there late. We will as we have scholarships, if any come open, as they come open, we'll address needs accordingly. So it's never, as you can find, we had not heard of Karis LeVert.
Mm-hmm.
We had just gone. I was breaking down tape of Spike Ulbrich at this time a few years ago. Karis LeVert had just come on the scene, and we recruit 12 months a year as far as continue to add people to our roster or evaluate people for our roster.
And, Coach, before we let you go, I just find it to be
Ira comes in with a question. Now, this got to be
every once in a while.
Now.
Every once in a while.
3 years we've been on the show, and now Ira's going to ask a question. So this has got to be of great magnitude.
Yes, I've been warming you up for 3 years for this.
The only thing better would have been if Phil would have just called in, and I would have got to talk to Phil.
We'll spare you from that one, Coach. This is kind of a selfish question. I'm just kind of curious. Is it weird for you that the next time you guys suit up to play basketball that you're going to have Rutgers and Maryland in the Big Ten?
So this was a homer question.
It's absolutely a homer question. Because I've been asked this question a lot.
Mark Turgeon, I saw him the other day. He asked about you, by the way.
I'm sure he did.
How's Ira doing? My number one fan up there. He wanted to know. He wanted to meet with you early so you could go over a lot of offense and defense with him.
No, I'm not scouting for Maryland. I'm scouting for Michigan. I was just curious because it's changing the league.
You won't be wearing any of that Maryland stuff when we play.
No, white shirt, khaki pants in the press section.
Unbelievable. Hey, Sam, we got to be very careful.
Right.
Anything we talk about before, and don't even, with Brady, that when they play Maryland, I mean, I don't trust Ira one bit. This man knows football too.
Just remember, Coach, I support my friends before I support my alma mater.
Okay. All right. No, it is going to be different. I think the travel is going to be. I mean, it is where we need to go. We need to be as national a conference as we can be. So I have no issues with that. I think that it's going to be really different, the travel that's going to be involved for everyone. Now, we're sort of lucky now that we're sort of in the middle of all this. I mean, but the Nebraska-Maryland game on a Wednesday night on BTN, I don't know where it's going to be played, but getting back from that game is going to be quite a challenge for some people because it really just happens in men's and women's basketball, the midweek games. But it is where we need to go, and it's no different than the Arizona-Oregon game. Those are long distances as well. That nobody thinks there's anything wrong with that, but it's actually the same, probably more further of a trip.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be different, but I embrace the change, and this league there's no stopping this Big Ten right now. We're in great shape, and we're going. In every sport, we have very, very high. We vision a lot of success in every sport in the Big Ten going forward.
Well, Coach, thanks a lot for your time, and congratulations on another outstanding season. And look, it's not going to be a whole off season that we go without talking to you. We got to get a few months in here, even if you're just coming on just to talk about your Cardinals, who are looking pretty good this season to be a team in the mix.
They are looking good. I listened to the game there last night. It was like old times. I had the game on the radio as I went to sleep. So it is that's my escape right now is the Cardinals. So.
All right. Well, Coach, like I said, congratulations once again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on all season long. I always enjoy it, and go Blue.